Hi, everyone. I'm Ryan, and welcome to Speak Up. Have you ever felt like learning English was a big mountain to climb? I sure did. When I first started, even simple words felt like tough challenges, but each word I learned opened a new door for me. Today, I want to share some of my own stories about those first steps, stories filled with little wins and moments of real joy. Let's dive into this journey together and see how every small word can make a big difference.
Hi, everyone. I'm Priya, and I'm so happy you're here with us on Speak Up. Imagine the excitement of understanding a new word that changes the way you see the world. That was my experience, too. I remember the first time I put words together and felt truly understood. Learning English has been like making a new friend, one word at a time. Today, I'm excited to share my story and some simple tips that helped me along the way. Let's enjoy this learning journey together.
Let's first understand the importance of vocabulary. I believe that having a strong vocabulary is like having a key that opens many doors in life. When I was starting out, I struggled to express my ideas clearly. I remember a time during a group discussion when I simply couldn't find the right words. I felt stuck and lost the chance to share my thoughts fully. That experience really showed me how important it is to have a rich vocabulary. It not only builds our confidence, but also helps us connect better with others in everyday situations.
Absolutely, Ryan. I also experienced moments where not knowing the right words made me feel left out or misunderstood. There was one day when I missed a word during an important conversation with a friend, and I felt frustrated and disconnected. It was a simple word, but it made a huge difference in the flow of our conversation. That moment taught me that every new word we learn is like a small victory, making it easier for us to express our true selves and participate fully in our daily lives.
When we build our vocabulary, it's like putting together a toolkit that we can use in every situation. Each word we learn gives us a new way to describe our thoughts, share our experiences, and understand others better. I've noticed that as my vocabulary grew, I started feeling more at ease during interviews and meetings. It wasn't just about speaking well, it was about feeling empowered and ready to seize opportunities. I now see vocabulary as a stepping stone to personal and professional growth.
Exactly, Ryan. Every word we learn adds a layer of understanding and boosts our self-confidence. It makes our daily conversations richer and helps us feel more connected with the people around us. For me, learning new words was like discovering a part of myself. Each word opened up a new way to express my feelings and ideas. By focusing on vocabulary, we're not just improving our English. We're improving our ability to communicate and connect with others. This foundation can truly change how we interact with the world every day.
Now that we understand why vocabulary is so important, let's talk about something really exciting. Learning 500 words in one day. Sounds crazy, right? When I first heard about this idea, I thought, there's no way I can do that. But then I started thinking, what if I could? What if I challenged myself to push my limits? It wasn't just about memorizing words, it was about proving to myself that I could achieve something big. That's when I decided to give it a shot.
Yes, Ryan. When I first heard about this challenge, I had the same reaction. 500 words in just one day? It felt impossible. But then I thought about all the times I had struggled to find the right words in conversations. I realized that learning these words could help me become a more confident speaker. So I took it as a personal challenge. I told myself, even if I don't reach 500, I will still learn more than I ever have in a single day. That mindset gave me the motivation to start.
And you know what, Priya? The more I thought about it, the more I realized that this challenge wasn't just about numbers. It was about discipline, focus, and breaking old habits. I used to think learning words had to be slow and difficult, but this challenge made me question that belief. I was curious to see how much my brain could actually absorb in one day. Could I train myself to learn faster? Could I find a smarter way to do it? These thoughts excited me, and I was ready to dive in.
Exactly, Ryan. I also saw this as a way to push myself beyond my comfort zone. We always hear that learning takes time, but what if we tried a completely different approach? I wanted to see if I could train my brain to absorb new words quickly. More than that, I wanted to prove to myself that I could commit to something and stick with it, no matter how challenging it seemed. So I decided to go all in and take this challenge seriously.
And once we made the decision, there was no turning back. I still remember that night before starting the challenge. I was excited but also a little nervous. I kept thinking, will I remember these words the next day? Will this really work? But instead of doubting, I reminded myself why I was doing this. This challenge wasn't just about learning words. It was about proving that we are capable of much more than we think.
Yes, Ryan. I felt the same way. I was excited, but also had a little fear. What if I failed? But then I told myself, the only way to fail is to not try at all. That's what pushed me forward. I was ready to give it my best shot no matter the outcome. And that's how we started this crazy yet amazing challenge, learning 500 words in a single day.
All right, so now that we had committed to the challenge, the big question was, how do we actually do it? Learning 500 words in a single day wasn't something we could just dive into without a plan. So the first step was proper planning. I knew that if I just sat down with a long list of words, my brain would give up in an hour. So I divided my day into smaller, focused sessions. Instead of trying to learn everything at once, I planned short learning bursts with breaks in between. This made the challenge feel more doable.
Exactly, Ryan. I also knew that without a proper structure, I would get overwhelmed. So I set up a schedule, learning in chunks of 50 words at a time, followed by a short break. I gave myself 10 focused sessions throughout the day. That way, I wasn't just stuffing words into my brain randomly, I was giving myself time to process them. And trust me, that made a huge difference. Breaking it down made 500 words feel like a big but manageable goal.
And of course, just planning wasn't enough. We needed the right tools. One thing that really helped me was flashcards. I wrote the words on one side and their meanings on the other. Every time I flipped through them, I was forcing my brain to recall the meaning, which helped me remember better. Another trick I used was spaced repetition. Instead of cramming all at once, I revisited words multiple times throughout the day. That repetition made sure the words actually stuck in my mind.
Yes, flashcards were a game changer for me too, but I also used a mobile app for extra practice. There are so many great vocabulary apps out there that use spaced repetition, so I downloaded one and added my words there. Every few hours, I would test myself using the app. It was like turning learning into a fun game, and that made it a lot easier to stay focused. These small tools made a big difference in how much I could actually remember.
And you know what? Having a solid plan and the right tools actually made me feel more confident. Before we started, I was a little nervous. What if I couldn't remember anything? But once I saw my plan on paper, I felt more in control. I wasn't just blindly trying to learn 500 words. I had a strategy. And that took away a lot of the fear. The more prepared I felt, the more motivated I became.
Exactly, Ryan. Preparation wasn't just about organizing the day, it was also about mentally preparing ourselves. I remember thinking, this is going to be hard, but I have a plan and I can do this. That positive mindset helped me push through. The key takeaway here is that learning a lot of words quickly isn't just about effort, it's about smart effort. And our preparation made sure that we were ready to take on this challenge with full confidence.
All right, so once we had our plan in place, it was time for the real challenge, actually learning 500 words in a single day. We knew we couldn't just stare at a long list of words and hope they'd stick. So we broke them into smaller sets of 50 words each. That way, instead of thinking about the huge number, we only focused on mastering 50 at a time. It made everything feel less overwhelming and much more doable.
Yes, breaking it down was the best decision. I started my first session with 50 words, and instead of just reading them, I tried different techniques to memorize them. One of my favorite methods was visualization. I would create mental images for each word. For example, if the word was gigantic, I would picture a huge mountain. That simple trick helped me remember words much faster because my brain connected them to an image.
I did something similar. But along with visualization, I also used association. I would connect new words to words I already knew. For example, if I learned the word resilient, I linked it to strong and imagined a rubber band stretching and bouncing back. It made the learning process fun and engaging, and after finishing my first 50 words, I quickly revised them before moving on to the next set.
That's a great technique, my Tryon. Another thing that helped me was speaking the words out loud. When I said them, it reinforced their pronunciation and meaning. I would use each new word in a sentence, sometimes even making funny sentences so I wouldn't forget. For example, for the word hilarious, I said, "My dog thinks he's a comedian. His jumps are hilarious." The sillier the sentence, the easier it was to remember.
That's so true, Priya. Speaking the words out loud definitely helped me too. And as the day went on, I realized that I needed to stay active to keep my brain engaged. So instead of just sitting and reading, I walked around while reviewing my flashcards. It kept me focused and prevented me from getting tired too quickly. Every 2 hours, I would also take a short break to refresh my mind before jumping into the next batch of words.
Yes, breaks were super important. At first, I thought I had to study nonstop to reach 500 words, but that wasn't true. After every set of 50 words, I took a 5-minute break to relax. It helped me absorb the words better instead of just cramming. And throughout the day, I made small adjustments. If one technique wasn't working, I switched to another. By the evening, I realized that learning 500 words wasn't impossible. It was just about using the right strategies.
Now let's be honest. Learning 500 words in one day was not easy. By the time I reached the 200-word mark, my brain started feeling overloaded. I felt like I was forgetting the earlier words while learning new ones. And at one point I even thought, is this worth it? Maybe I should just stop now. That moment of doubt hit me hard. But then I reminded myself why I started this challenge. I told myself, just keep going, one word at a time. That simple mindset shift helped me push through.
Ryan, I completely relate. Around the middle of the day, I also felt my motivation slipping. I started mixing up words, and it felt frustrating. There were moments when I wanted to take a long break, but I knew if I did, getting back into the flow would be harder, so I changed my approach. Instead of forcing myself to memorize, I took a 10-minute walk, listened to some music, and then came back refreshed. And guess what? That small reset helped me regain my energy and focus.
That's a great trick, Priya. I also had to find ways to stay motivated. One thing that helped was celebrating small wins. When I hit 250 words, I literally gave myself a mini celebration. I clapped for myself and said, "Halfway there, Ryan." It might sound funny, but it actually worked. Acknowledging my progress kept me going. And by the time I reached 350 words, I felt a sudden rush of excitement. I thought, wow, I've come this far. I can't stop now.
Yes, celebrating progress is so important. When I crossed the 300-word mark, I felt this mix of exhaustion and excitement. It was like running a marathon. I was tired, but I could see the finish line. That moment gave me a second wave of energy. I told myself I didn't come this far to quit now. And honestly, once I crossed 400 words, I was so determined that I didn't even feel the tiredness anymore. I just wanted to finish strong.
That's exactly how I felt too, Priya. And you know what? The last 100 words were actually the easiest because I was so pumped up. There was this sense of pride that kept me moving forward. By the end of the challenge, I wasn't just happy, I was amazed. I had just proven to myself that I could do something I once thought was impossible. That feeling was incredible.
Yes, Ryan. The moment I reached the 500th word, I just sat there smiling. I couldn't believe it. I did it. All the doubts, the struggles, the moments of frustration, they were worth it. That feeling of accomplishment was something I had never experienced before. And more than just learning words, I learned something about myself, that I was capable of achieving way more than I thought. And that, for me, was the best part of this entire challenge.
Looking back, this challenge was a roller coaster. From setting a clear plan to actually pushing through the learning process, every step taught us something valuable. Breaking words into smaller sets, using techniques like visualization and association, and making learning fun instead of overwhelming, that was the real key. If I had just tried to memorize a long list of words without structure, I probably would have given up halfway.
Absolutely, Ryan. What really stood out for me was how important mindset is. At first, 500 words felt impossible, but once I started and celebrated small wins along the way, it became easier. Also, I learned that different techniques work for different people. Some might love flashcards, while others might find storytelling more effective. The main thing is to experiment and see what helps words stick in your mind.
Exactly, Priya. And another big lesson? Consistency is more important than speed. Yes, we learned 500 words in a day, but the real takeaway is that learning a little every day is more effective than cramming once in a while. Even if you learn just 10 new words daily, that's 3,650 words in a year. Way more than most people learn.
And that's such a great point, Ryan. And here's one more insight. Words are just the beginning. Learning vocabulary is important, but actually using those words in real life is what makes them stick. So after learning new words, try to use them in sentences, in conversations, or even in your thoughts. That's when real progress happens.
Yes. So for all our listeners, here's our advice. 1. Set a realistic goal and break it into smaller chunks. 2. Use multiple techniques, flashcards, visualization, association, speaking out loud, whatever works for you. 3. Don't stress about forgetting. Repetition is the key, and most importantly, enjoy the process. Learning should never feel like a burden.
Couldn't have said it better, Ryan. So to everyone listening, just start. Whether it's 10 words or 500, the important thing is to take action. Learning English isn't just about memorizing words. It's about growing your confidence, improving your communication, and opening up new opportunities. So keep going, keep learning, and most importantly, believe in yourself.
And with that, we wrap up today's episode. We hope our experience inspired you to push your own limits and try new learning strategies. If you enjoyed this podcast, don't forget to follow Speak Up for more practical tips on improving your English. And hey, we'd love to hear from you. How many new words will you challenge yourself to learn today? Drop us a comment or message. We'll be cheering for you.
Yes. And if you found this episode helpful, share it with a friend who's also learning English. The more we learn together, the faster we grow. Thank you all for joining us today. We'll be back soon with more exciting ways to boost your English skills. Until then, keep practicing, stay motivated, and remember, you're capable of more than you think. Bye for now.